My name is Morgan. I'm a content creator. I'm a learning experience designer and I design courses for a living. Last week, I had a revelation. I realized that I was truly living out the life of my dreams. And no, I don't live in a mansion. I don't have millions of dollars in my bank account. Everything in my life is in alignment. And I actually made a post on Instagram this week to kind of remind myself of everything that has come into fruition over the past few years for me. It wasn't necessarily a post because it was a highlight reel of all of the things that happened, but more so it was a reminder of all of the steps that it took to get to this one place in my life. The essence of this video is to basically say that nothing happens overnight. It is a journey. And once you embrace that process and understand that your journey is yours, then you'll be more in alignment with the person that you want to be, the person who you're becoming, and you'll just be more successful and happy in your own life and at peace because you know and you trust in the process and you trust in where you're going in your life. Essentially, last week, a lot of things happened to me and a lot of things came into alignment. So last week, my video on Instagram hit 100,000 views, and that is the first time ever that I've literally hit over maybe 20,000 views on a video. It was my partnership video with Tabitha Brown's hair care line, Donna's Recipe. So if you haven't seen that Instagram video, make sure you check it out. And if you haven't seen my review of the hair care line here on YouTube, make sure you check that video out as well. That was a huge moment for me because, again, getting that level of exposure, number one, and number two, the fact that Tabitha Brown posted it on her page, like her Instagram page. If you go there, you will see me and my face on her page, which is crazy still to me to this day. So that was a huge win for me. Another win for me last week was the fact that I met up with a lot of different friend groups who I had not necessarily disconnected with, but I just hadn't seen in a long time. So basically getting to reconnect with the people who have supported me. I also started attending events again. When I say again, it's because I took this break from life for the past month, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Taking a break and a step back allowed me to rest, recover, and figure out who I want to be in life and move forward in a way that is in alignment and makes sense. Another big win for me was the fact that I was working from a coffee shop. That wasn't necessarily major. It was, again, a step in the right direction to where I have freedom of time, freedom of location during my day, and I can kind of plan my day around my schedule that I create for myself. Even though I'm still working full time, I'm able to work within structure to get what I want out of life. And that is happiness, freedom, coffee, and then meeting up with my friends on my lunch break. That's a great reminder that no matter the structure, I still have freedom. I also had a brand photo shoot last week. I had a huge week, but I had a brand photo shoot where I worked with a photographer and got new brand photos. Essentially just thinking about my rebrand, it was special to me because it was comforting knowing that I was working toward a dream of mine. Another win for me was the fact that I watched my fiance, Owen, he spoke on a panel at the Gathering Spot for the film industry, and it was just amazing to see my soulmate speak from his soul about his purpose in life. Probably one of the biggest wins last week was the fact that I paid off my credit cards. I got laid off and I needed a way to survive. So I was using credit cards and my savings. And once I got my job last year, I said, okay, I am going to work so hard to pay off these credit cards. And last week I finally did. And it was the most beautiful feeling to just be free. Financially free especially is like a different type of feeling. So a lot of wins last week. But again, the point of this video is to make it known that even though people are sharing their wins, nothing happens overnight. You may be tired and you may feel like giving up and you may feel like this is the end. This is the end of the road because I've had so many what you may think are failures, but they're actually wins. They're actually successes because you continue to fight through and you continue to believe in yourself that something more is possible. This video is actually inspired by one of my dear friends who came to visit me this weekend friend, and she was asking me all these questions about wanting to start her business and wanting to just get out of a slump and being in a transition phase. And I gave her this advice: to keep going and keep believing. It may seem so difficult to do that because you may have encountered a difficult patch or a challenge that really set you back. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's emotional, spiritual, where you kind of lost your grounding. Taking time to take a step back and remember who you are, who you want to be, and remember the faith that you once had can help you to keep going on the path that you once so deeply desired. It's so easy to lose vision. It's so easy to give up. This is for the person who is tired, but is also keeping faith and keeping believing that true actualization is not a highlight reel. It is the becoming that you do as part of your journey, the becoming that you do on a daily basis. It's building a habit of trying over and over again. Entrepreneurship, just waking up every day. The basis of it is trying. Every single time that you try, it's not starting from zero. It's starting from all of the experience that you previously had, all of those years of living, all of those years of working, all of those years of interacting with other people, building relationships, building networks, building skills. You're building upon that to keep going and keep believing in this vision that you have for yourself. If you are tired, if you feel like giving up, if you feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, keep going. That faith that you once had in yourself. You may not be working toward the same goal, but keeping faith to work toward any goal is what every one of us needs to have success within ourselves and to move humanity forward. Here are some tips and some things that I've learned from my years of going at life, and hopefully something resonates within you to just keep going, because your ideas and your vision and your passion and your desire is needed. First, take a break, take some rest. And I know that just seems counterintuitive to everything that I'm saying, because I'm saying to keep going, but keep going from a place of rest. Keep going from a place of rejuvenation, because if you don't rest, literally you have nothing to pour from. I'm sure we've heard this same analogy over and over again, but it's so true. Imagine your life as a cup. If you have nothing in the cup, you have nothing to pour. Pour into yourself, into others, into your projects, into the world. You need to be able to fill your cup. And the only way to do that is to take a step back and rest. The past month and a half, I decided for myself that I was just going to rest, to pause from life, literally not do anything. So I didn't post to social media. All I did was work and sleep. Number one, because I didn't realize how much the first half of the year literally took out of me. I was depleted. I was just tired and I just needed to sleep. Force myself to sleep, number one. Force myself to detox, number two. And force myself to fall in love again with the vision that I had. Had I not taken a break, I would have just kept going and running on E. I wouldn't have been able to come up with the content, come up with the ideas, execute the vision if I had just kept going on E. Imagine that video that I just came out with, my first 100,000 views. That wouldn't have happened had I not taken a break to actually stop, rest, and think about the direction of content that I wanted to go in, the direction of life that I wanted to go in. So that break was essential for me. Not that I necessarily gave up on anything, but it allowed me to revisit why I actually fell in love with creating content, sharing a message, building this vision. At first, I was able to sit in silence, and silence is the best gift ever. It allows you to only think about yourself, your needs, and where you want to go in life. And it gives you really fresh energy. Had I not taken that break, I would have never encountered my breakthrough. I would have kept creating content from a place of scarcity and a place of depletion, as opposed to a place of life, rejuvenation, passion, wisdom, love. Do you want to come from a place of depletion, or do you want to come from a place of love, gratitude, rejuvenation? Honey, the choice is yours, but you can only make that choice if you give yourself time to stop and think, stop and rest, just stop and pause from life instead of just keep going and not even giving yourself time to ask yourself why. Number 2 is tap into your support circle. It's so easy to convince ourselves that we don't have support. It's so easy to tell ourselves that we have no friends, nobody's on our side. People support you from the type of support that they know to give and the type of support that they know to receive. And especially with friends who may not be content creators or may not do the same things that you do, business-wise or industry-wise, it might not register to everyone how to support you and how to actually show up. Some people might just not be a great support system, and maybe you need to reevaluate that relationship. Other people may support you in very, very different, diverse, unique ways. When you need that support, you definitely get it. And it's important to remember that you're not going to get everything from everyone, but the people who support you in the ways that you need to be supported, in the diverse ways that you need to be supported throughout your life. And those are the types of people you need to tap into to reground yourself in this moment of rejuvenation and rest during your pause, during your time of thinking about why, and during this transition phase from tired to transformed. It doesn't necessarily have to be you going out to dinner and doing all these activities. You can send a voice note to your friend. You can send a text message to your friend just to let them know that you're checking up on them. People don't know how to show up for you if you don't tell them. Don't think that you don't have support. You just have it in unique ways, in different pockets of life, and it's okay to pull from different people when you need them most. Like I mentioned, I'm back outside. Going back into these events and getting dressed up and doing my makeup and putting outfits together reminded me of how fun that is and how fun it is to express my creativity through getting dressed, through my appearance, through looks, through just being a part of society is a creative endeavor in and of itself. Get dressed and go to something that you've always wanted to go to. No, it might not be an event on the red carpet or a movie premiere. I saw an architectural tour that I want to go on, and how awesome would it be to go get dressed up and go on an architectural tour in a beautiful home that you can take pictures in. I mean, that's the type of event that I would want to go to as well. And going to something like that and being creative in these small pockets and small ways, whether it's through your appearance, whether it's through the types of events you go to, through the types of places you go to and getting inspiration there. I mean, you can find inspiration everywhere, but you're not going to find inspiration if you don't go, if you don't try, if you don't rest, if you don't do something to spark your creativity. Like I mentioned, I also worked from a coffee shop, and this is nothing crazy, but I was able to romanticize my workday. Think about all of the joys more actively by just sitting in a different location, being in different weather, in a different vibration, being able to interact with different people throughout my day. It allowed me to really realize and be more grateful for the life that I do have. And it's kind of crazy thinking about it in that way, about how we can really change our perspective just from changing our location and just from working from a more fabulous location than you normally do. And it might not even be that fabulous, but you realize all of the small things that allow you to have this fabulous experience. Maybe it's the type of coffee, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's being able to talk to your friends throughout the day. Understand how small intricacies and nuances can tap into your life more readily and more frequently to make you more grateful on a daily basis and make you kind of redefine this idea of fabulosity. You're able to use those pockets of fabulosity in your normal routine. I might not go to a coffee shop every day, but maybe I'll sit outside on my back porch to check my morning emails. Small changes can spark joy, and you want to feel alive. So figure out different ways to feel alive just from bringing your life to a more grand, fabulous Romanticize scale. I also talked about my rebrand. First of all, I really needed that time of rest to really sit and think about the rebrand and the direction that I wanted to go in. Once I tapped into actually building my brand, going on photo shoots, coming up with the clothing and the storyboards for my content, it reinvigorated something within me that is truly unexplainable. Creating a brand is something special when you're able to take a vision, literally something intangible, and bring it to life. It is an incredible experience. Like it's otherworldly, to be honest. Even if you don't have the tangibles of that vision yet, working on bringing those to life sparks so much joy and sparks an invigoration where you realize how you can close the gap between your vision and your reality, because all it takes is small changes: the photo shoot, the outfit, the storyboard, the video. And once you do those daily habits and actually work on your brand, maybe take a photo, maybe do something small for your forward movement, you realize that just doing something small is one step forward for your brand, is one step forward for your audience understanding who you are. So what is something, that one small step that you can do today to bring your vision to life? And it doesn't have to be the whole website, the whole photo shoot, the whole anything. Maybe it's just taking a photo. Maybe it's just jotting down some ideas or making a list. That will help you go from disbelief about what's possible for you and your brand to actually making something come true. And that is essentially the definition of actualization. I also mentioned that I watched Owen, my fiance, talk on a panel at the Gathering Spot here in Atlanta about the film industry. It was beautiful to celebrate him, but it's always beautiful to celebrate someone in general. And I talked about this in my last video about the 6 habits of highly successful women. And one of those habits is celebrating wins, whether they're your own or whether they're others in your circle. In my case, this was my fiance's win of being able to speak on a panel. And celebrating someone who lives in their purpose highlights the attributes of what it means to live in their purpose. So when I was watching Owen on stage, I was like, wow, he really is like getting to the nooks and crannies of being in the film industry. He's answering questions. He's engaging with the audience. That's something that I need to do for myself, and I need to continue to do it. I'm witnessing somebody living out their vision. And when you witness other people living out their visions, you take small pieces of what made it a beautiful experience, what made people engage, what made people tap in, what made people buy. Having conversations with dream builders, dream chasers, actualizers helps you understand what it means for you to do that yourself. Maybe you're not at the point where you're building the website or doing the big thing for your brand, but witnessing somebody else do that puts ideas into your head about those small steps to close the gap between disbelief and actualization. So what are you going to do today? Last I mentioned that I paid off my credit card. I know. If there's anybody who knows, I know the struggle that it is to have this financial weight over top of you as you're trying to chase your dreams. That's been me for the past few years after getting laid off from my job in ed tech and then having to find a new job while also wanting to build a brand, while also racking up credit card debt because of the job that I lost. Again, this did not happen overnight. This happened through small steps that I took daily and plans that I made to have this off of my back to be free. This meant setting aside tiny amounts. Sometimes it was $10, sometimes it was $50, sometimes it was $1,000. Whatever I had, I made it a goal, and I made it a goal to pay it off. I made sacrifices, not huge sacrifices in my mind, because in my mind it's just completing a goal. For some people it's a sacrifice, okay? Not going out to eat, not going on trips, deciding to stay home instead of going out because going outside is expensive. Those are sacrifices. Over time, over a 2-year period, I worked toward, again, closing that gap, a dream, and that dream becoming my new reality. And now my new reality is a paid off credit card because I worked hard to get there. I got the job that I needed. I was determined, and I only made decisions that aligned with the woman I was becoming. Because the woman I was becoming is debt-free, is financially free, is free all around, is liberated. And I needed to create that reality by closing the gap and doing the small actions that would make me become her. To close out, my biggest piece of advice is to take small actions daily to get to the person you want to become. Nothing is going to happen overnight, and it's so easy to lose belief that this can actually become your reality. Don't lose that belief, because that belief will ultimately go to somebody else and they're going to accomplish the goal that you set out for yourself. What's the worst thing, aside from you losing that faith, is watching someone else do exactly what you wanted to do, or something bigger. When you actually accomplish the goal, you lose shame, you lose disbelief, you become detached from negative emotions that previously used to rule your world and kept you tethered to a life that you knew wasn't your reality. But instead, you detached from those emotions and you became the person that walked in faith, walked through their journey to become the person that they want to be. So I hope that by sharing my wins, I gave you actionable steps that you can do today to move your life forward in incremental ways. Ultimately, change your life and move from disbelief to belief and to actualization. My name is Morgan. Thanks for watching my channel, Actualized AF, where we talk strategies and tips to actualize all the goals you desire and become the person you've always imagined for yourself. Like, comment, and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
So, presently I'm standing